Hello, hello, hello. Once again, uh, another one of my live streams with the incredible, incomparable Vicky Poole of Tender Response.
Tender response, providing a tender response to your tender response. He makes me do it.
It amuses me. All right, so look, today we're really covering a topic that I think a lot of people worry about, which is that there's lots and lots of parts of lots and lots of wheels and gears in motion, and they can be excessively irritating, and to the extent that some people either put off or end up not doing at all purely because they can't face the huge bulk of the machinations needed to make a tender response work. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some misconceptions or some ideas out there about what people think involved in selling to the public sector, shall we?
Yeah, cool. So I've got 5 of these bad boys today. So we've got 15 minutes today. So that's 3 minutes per one. No pressure. Cool. So let's go. I know, enough. So the first one is that it's a formal process. Well, of course it's a formal process. You're actually dealing with public money. So when we all mourn about paying taxes and how it comes to the government and how the local council spend their money. So yes, the second that you're talking about spending public money, there needs to be an approved process. And that process is through a procurement portal or through a third party, which is a procurement specialist. And this happens in order to maintain integrity. Now, the reason why this happens is, everyone can log into the portal and grab your own access. The principal reason behind having a portal is so that it's fair. So I can message the council, but also the council can respond to me directly, but can also cascade messages out across all of the interested parties. So when you subscribe to a procurement portal and you opt into this opportunity and you press that button to say opt in, you will receive all of the messages that come from the council in relation to that opportunity, which means all of the suppliers who have expressed an interest in that unique opportunity get all the information at the same time. And that ensures integrity across all of the suppliers in terms of the response that they get.
Also provides a line of accountability because they can see who's done what with whom, really. And as the point about public money is not a moot one. The whole deal is we all complain when other people spend our money willy-nilly. Well, if we didn't have an established process for responding to tenders, then theoretically somebody could swoop in, take all the money, not mentioning somebody called Doris or any of the other people. No, and I held back. But yes, could come in and change and take over control of the tendering process. This ensures a level playing field. Right. All right.
Not only does it ensure a level playing field, but it also helps the suppliers front as well. Because it's a formal process, there was no way to know for sure how many responders are moving forward. Now, if you are in a PQQ, which is a pre-qualification questionnaire, and only 6 suppliers move through, a maximum of 6 suppliers, you know that you are up against a maximum of 5 other people. Right. However, if you are responding specifically to a tender, in order for that procurement process to be classified as complete and full, only one person needs to respond. And because it's all done through, like I call it like a black book, it's dark. The council get to see a response. The suppliers don't necessarily know who else is responding. So the whole concept is that people price their solution to win. So you're more likely to receive competitive quotes or more competitive quotes going through a formal procurement process. Now, there are routes that a council can buy direct if it is under a certain threshold, and that varies from $5,000 up to 140 grand, depending on the product or service that you're buying.
But I can't influence this in any way. I can't sort of send them tubs of perfume or flowers or chocolates even.
Nope. Anything over £25 received to a person needs to be declared as goods in kind. Anything sent to the council or received by the council in your name during a procurement process will invalidate your tender submission.
Note to self:
tender is out.
Note to self, do not send those brown envelopes. Right, okay.
Yes, cool. So the second thing we're going to talk about here is contract term. Second, números dos, contract term. So these contracts usually run for a long period of time. So when you're out in the commercial world, you have 1, maybe 2-year agreements, contracts with the council. Because they take so long to go through, they often run for up to 7 years, which is either a 3 + 2 + 2, or a 5 + 1 + 1, or a 3 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. And this is because it takes a long time to run a procurement. So from the supplier perspective, I might see something come to market in January.
Right.
What I don't see is the 12 to 18 months worth of prep work that happens beforehand. And this is all known as pre-engagement activities, pre-qualification, supplier, blue sky thinking, all that kind of wonderful stuff. So once a council is in buying mode, it can take 2 or 3 years to run a procurement and to transition out to the incoming supplier. And if you're doing that every 12 months, it gets really monotonous. So when you're in, the contract can run for a rather substantial length of time.
Okay.
Which leads really nicely into payment terms. But I'm conscious that you had a question there, Gareth. What's your question on contract?
No, you know, I want to hear about payment terms first of all, because I need to mull this over. I think you may have already answered my question.
Okay.
I don't want to come across as being stupid, but I think you already answered it earlier. But carry on. Let's talk about payment terms.
Payment terms. So payment terms is numéro 3. Payment terms. In the commercial world, you get to outline your terms and conditions. You get to say, I want this net 30. I want this invoice paid on receipt. When you're working with a council, things are slightly different.
Yeah.
Or are they? Now, most councils, they want to ensure that their suppliers get paid quickly. And some of them opt into an early payment discount. So I'm going to say that again. Some councils ask suppliers if they will opt into an early payment discount, which says if we pay your invoice between 5 and 20 days early, will you give us a discount? And that discount can be anything from 0 to 5% or any value you choose. Now, some suppliers opt for that, and that means that they are paid immediately on receipt. Some suppliers decline, and then they're on the standard net 30 terms. Now, in reality, I've seen this work for both companies and both pros and cons, and some people have opted to go into the discount, some people haven't. In reality, all councils want to make sure that their underlying suppliers have sufficient cash flow so that they don't go bust, can deliver their service for the contract term. And 3, they actually are strategic partners. Right. So what this actually means is that you can actually receive more favorable terms from the council should you wish, or should you plan to negotiate that.
So you can actually state as part of the prequel, and when you're into the tender, you can state what the tender terms, the payment terms you want.
When you're in a tender response, so when a client comes out to tender, they will say what their standard payment terms are. For example, net 30. So your January invoice will, you could say that you will invoice 30 days in advance of each payment term. So you'll invoice in January for February. Yeah?
I see.
Yeah. But you can also say, I'll offer you a 5% discount if you pay within the first week.
Right.
So then you can actually request early payment for services before they've been delivered to the client, which is something that you can't necessarily do flat across the board in the commercial sector.
Right.
Now, with all councils at the minute being a bit strapped for cash, anything that suppliers can do to help them save a bit of money, they will at least look at or explore. You can include a clarification question during a tender,
right,
to say, where can we pose, where can we include our financial offerings, if there's something that needs to be explained, and they'll instruct you to where you can include that. They may even say that is an option that is discussed at preferred supplier.
So payment terms aren't as fixed as one might have thought, because normally I think that the normal conception is, well, they're going to ask for 60 days or 30 days, and I'm a small business, I can't possibly manage that.
Yeah, you know what, back in the 80s and 90s, that was exactly how it worked. Nowadays, far less so. there has been a huge move to really welcome in SMEs into the public sector space. And most of the clients that I work with are within the SME space. They have either not worked in public sector before, or have got one contract and they haven't liked the way that it's been delivered. So they're looking to improve it for the next one. And most of the clients that I'm working with have actually seen a considerable improvement on their payment terms since they've been working with me, because I know when to ask what questions to get the results that they're looking for.
All right, next one. Come on now, lay me out. What's the next one?
Next one, mandated engagements. So the council will say, I want you to give me this information on this date throughout the life of the contract. So as an example.
Is that like an SLA or something similar, or that's slightly different?
Like an SLA. It's like an SLA. So you need to send me through weekly activities before 4 o'clock on a Friday. You need to send me a monthly report on no less, a monthly report of all of the finances, all of the engagements, all of the activities that you've done for the previous month on day 5 or working day 5 of the next month. And you have to include all of your KPIs that you're scored against.
Right.
Now, people look at this and say, I can't be bothered to do all of that. That's a whole load of work.
The word that jumps to my mind is faff.
Yes. Now, there's 2 things that I want to speak to on this. One, these are KPI matrices that are industry standard for most industries. The information that they're asking for is nothing more than pulling it out of your CRM or out of your Click. So if you're an engineering company, you're going to have this as part of your Simpro or another application. There is nothing more from out of there than exporting a report and tapping the values in. And number 2, the reason why councils ask for this is because your contract manager will need to submit a report about how well, and this is a contract manager within the council, will have to submit a report about how well your individual performance is. In the same way that when we have people in our team, we like to benchmark them against how well they are performing and whether or not they require support or assistance. Similarly, the council also needs to make sure that their suppliers have the information from them, that they are able to deliver against their commitments, because at the end of the day, the people who are the underlying benefactors of any council service is the public. That's me and that's you. So in order to make sure that we are all receiving the services that we need, the council needs to make sure that the suppliers are all receiving the information. The only way that they can guarantee to receive that from an independent source is from the supplier.
All right. So what you're basically saying is suck it up. This information is already available. Just give it to them as they require it. And they'll then champion you internally.
Pretty much. And as long as you give it in a format to them where it is literally copy and paste from your PowerPoint, your PDF document into their template, then it makes it really quick and easy. Like, I've just finished doing a tender for an HVAC company, and I helped them draw up the monthly reporting schedule document for this and show them where they can find it through their existing systems. Number of emergency call outs in a month. It's actually visible on the client screen in their system. Response time within SLA, it's taken as an average across the month, which is also available in their system. So you are literally looking back, selecting a date range, and tapping the numbers across. The information should already be there, and all you're doing is collating it. Exactly.
Okay, right.
Exactly.
Hit me with the next one.
And the last one, number 5. Number 5 is timeframes. It can be incredibly frustrating when you're in a tender response and you have to provide all this information in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And then the client takes about 7 or 8 weeks over the deadline to make a decision.
Doesn't seem fair.
1, people say it doesn't seem fair. That's the usual response that I get. 2, the reason why it takes so long is the internal governance and sign-off proceedings. So if they need to make a change, or the need, even if they're staying with the existing supplier, it needs to go through governance and sign-off. So anything over, so if it's a core system application like revenue and benefits, document management, which connects to a lot of applications, or if it's emails, storage, particular value over mobile phones, and you can probably see here that I'm talking about a lot of things. It needs to go through full procurement, and then it may, depending on the value, need to go to the council exec. And the council exec only meets once a month, and there is allotted time. So if your agenda item AOB 25, it's unlikely to be seen on that week, on that month's meeting, and it may get deferred to the following month. So if your procurement process finishes just before the council meeting, it is unlikely to make it on because the agenda is confirmed a week in advance, which immediately puts it back 4 weeks to be on to the next agenda, which is going to be 5 weeks that the supplier would have waited for that feedback. And then if it misses that agenda point, it gets pushed back another month, which then brings it up to 9 weeks. So then you can see how long it cascades out. Once it's been approved by council or the exec within a council, it's usually a very quick process because it's tick, 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 tick. And that's when the formal documentation, the formal notices are released on the tenders. And that's where the suppliers get to hear the feedback. There are some little wiggle rooms where suppliers can find out where they are if they have been awarded that contract. That's something that I'll save for another day. And it's also something that I do because I like to know where all my information is. So right. I'm actually providing insight to my inner sanctity. And when you have to know where to look for it, though. So that's the thing. That's the thing. And every council is different.
Do you know what? The man who charged £500 for a call out and turned up with a hammer, hit the thing once, charged £1 for hitting it and £499 for knowing where to look. And the same goes with any of this. Dare I say it that tender response is the way to pretty much not guarantee, but give yourself the best chance of a positive result. If that's what you want, I suggest you do talk to her. Tasia, I've got Tasia who likes the word niggles.
Niggles.
I'm glad you enjoyed that, Tasia. We like it. Nothing like a good niggle. And what I would like to say also is there are a number of things you can do to help yourself. Now, we have already put together. I say we, of course. What I mean is Vicky, but I'll assume responsibility. We've put together this thing called the resources sheet. Talk them through that one, Vicky.
Yeah, of course. So like all businesses, when they're getting ready to explore something, whether it could be public sector sales, it could be something else, they need to go off and do a little bit of research to make sure that what they're looking at is, or what they want to do is something that they can do. So what I've pulled together is a resources document. Now, if you click through to that link, which is tenderresponse.co.uk/resources, you can have access to all these documents and they're free to download. You just pop in your details there. And this is all of the standard information that you will get asked for in order to respond to any public sector tender. Now, this information, you pull it together once, and then it's a copy and paste job on most of your tender submissions.
I would say do that anyway. Even if you're not going for a tender now, it would be really useful if you can pull all information together. Yeah,
because this is what we call the FAF. So this is the stuff that takes the time. And once you've invested the time to do it once and do it now, then you're actually going to have all the information ready so that the next time you go for a tender, you've got all of the base information available and ready.
Now, you may have not perceived this yet, but Vicky is a font of all knowledge, and her team and her are more than happy to provide you with quick Q&A. Best way perhaps might be using the WhatsApp number. So what I say about this, don't call, send her a WhatsApp message asking questions. She or her team will get back to you. How long? Within about a half an hour to an hour? I don't know how fast.
It's about 24 hours at the minute because we've got 4 tenders on the go. The team don't work Mondays, so we are available between Tuesday and Friday.
Perfect.
Extended office hours, 8 till 6.
And we're working on approximately 80% success rate on tender responses. So hopefully over time, as we, because not had a failure yet in recent months. So what I would say is that over time that should go up. We're aiming to get up towards the late 80s, see if we can get there. Also, bear in mind tomorrow we'll be changing hats and we'll be talking about Tender Promote. And Tender Promote is a parallel facility that works with it. And we'll be talking about how we can get more people to understand the benefit of what you do more of the time. But until that time, I wish you all a cheery bye. And thank you very much again, Vicky, for for jumping into the fray here. Vicky Poole, of course, owns and runs Tender Response, and she and her team out there to help you get more success when going for public sector sales. Many thanks, and see you tomorrow.